Hello everyone, I'm ImKibitz and welcome back to Satisfactory, where today I'm going to be doing a world tour / series recap of my 750 hour Satisfactory world. So I'll go over how we started, the grand strategy, all the mega projects we've been working on, and where we're at now. And if you enjoy, remember to leave a like and subscribe, because we have a lot of crazy stuff left to build in this playthrough. And getting started, I actually did a world tour about 250 hours ago, so link to that is in the description, but I'll quickly go over all the highlights from that. Where I started with tiers 1 to 6 already automated, and I had a whole storage room built, so we could build a massive fuel power plant over here. But you might notice, it's not here anymore, because there's a huge update for that biome, so we moved the fuel power plant to the other side of the world. But that didn't really matter because the fuel power plant here was a precursor to what we really need to get done. Our super massive nuclear power plant, which generates around 300,000 megawatts per minute and processes thousands of nuclear waste per minute into plutonium fuel rods for recycling. And there's a reason why we went so crazy with power. Like in a normal playthrough, this is insane. But in this one, we're doing something a little crazy. You see, I actually have like 3,000 total hours in this game, and all of my previous playthroughs collapsed due to an insane amount of lag or other accidents. So in this playthrough, I cheated in power shards, as many as I wanted, so we wouldn't have to build as many machines. Plus, the lag is a little bit more tolerable. Big trade-off, of course, is that if you use power shards, they use a lot more power. Like at 100%, this uses 30 megawatts. But because of what we're doing, it uses 100. Then you multiply that same kind of thing to everything we're doing in the world, and things get a little wild. But anyway, the rest of our world was all purpose-built to support that nuclear power plant. Like we have a massive rubber factory here, that is making like 7,000 rubber per minute with some very complicated recipes. Also, we can make nuclear fuel rod components. And similarly, we got some very basic aluminum stuff put together, so we could have a few batteries to power the mission critical drones we needed to get the power plant started. And with that complete, the nuclear power plant was running and we never had to worry about it again. Smile. And we could get started on the space elevator parts. Why isn't stuff being recycled? I had the recycling stuff on already. It's not even moving through recycling. Oh, fantastic. And these bins are all full? Awesome. That's a cool 50,000 nuclear waste at least then. Excellent. Excelente. This is the worst. Yeah, that's a blatant lie. We had a couple small problems with the nuclear power plant, but I'll get to it. So first big order of business was gathering more materials. We needed all of the bauxite, coal, and whatever in the red forest. So we started gathering pretty much everything we could, sticking into a train and then bringing it over to our aluminum plant. I was just getting started way over there because we had set up some temporary thing just for getting batteries, but now I wanted more batteries. I wanted 1,000 batteries per minute because if we had all the batteries in the world, we could set up as many drones as we wanted, which could scale our production efforts tenfold. So that was the first big mission. Get the drones, get the batteries, and flood the skies with our precious machines. And the batteries needed tons of sulfur, alkyd aluminum sheets, plastic, and wire. And for the aluminum, we got right to that because we had all of the bauxite from the red forest from that train, bringing it here. Then for the wire, I dramatically expanded production capabilities in our rubber plant in the Crater Lake here. And then I set up a massive truck system to truck everything just up the hill there to where it needed to go. So that wasn't too bad. The plastic was the problem. We needed 2,000 plastic per minute. You see, because I made the aluminum plant here, and right here is kind of like the intersection of all the world's bauxite nodes. However, the closest oil nodes are down over here in this Crater Lake. But I pumped the oil wells dry, making all of that rubber. So yeah, kind of had a bit of a problem. How are we gonna get 2,000 plastic per minute? Where the heck is any oil? Well, there's that newly renovated biome at the top of the map, but then I'd have to bring 2,000 plastic from up here all the way down here? Yeah, I don't think so. Then there's this Gold Coast area that has a bunch of oil, but I used that all for fuel power, and I didn't really want to tear that down because that was our emergency power reserve. So I had to do something a little strange. I had to go to these really random oil nodes in the center of the map here. There's just 3. There's a normal one, and a pure one. And that is pretty dang close by. Like, we're operating here, oil's right there. No problem. Except this isn't enough oil, not even close. You see, it was around this time that they added a new thing to this game, resource wells. So I grabbed all of the oil that was just sitting there, brought it way down over this way into this factory here, which is right next door to a new oil resource well. And with it, we were able to get another 1,350 oil per minute. And with all of that crude oil, we're able to use some very complicated recipes and processing to make 9,000 plastic per minute. Yes, I know I said we only needed 2,000, but I was like, hey, we have the oil, why don't we use it? And oh, bud, we did. All that really mattered at this point was we had our 2,000 plastic per minute in this cool plastic factory, and we were able to ship it all out via train over to where it needed to be. And with all that plastic, we were good to go. Except things weren't exactly smooth sailing. You see, as I was processing all of the aluminum and preparing the machines for battery production, well, we ran into a few issues. The nuclear power plant here kind of backed up on 100,000 nuclear waste, which it's not supposed to do. And what caused this fantastical disaster? Me. I did it. While I was fiddling inside the aluminum build here, I got rid of the old battery production. I am pretty much certain there's only one thing that could cause a problem of this magnitude, and yep, that's that there are no batteries. The drones can't pick up all the required materials. Thus, everything backs up and we are screwed right now. And of course, it's unpowered. I was rewiring stuff and I must have forgot to connect up one wire into this mission critical system that runs our entire world. And with no battery production, we weren't getting the precious uranium to the nuclear power plant. And without the right amount of uranium, well, we couldn't process the nuclear waste. Yeah, so it just built up very, very quickly. See, 1,000 nuclear waste per minute is no joke. It's very spooky. And after no time at all, a lot of these power plants started getting backed up. And if the waste backs up in here, the plant can't run, thus bringing down the power grid and further stopping machines that I need to process the waste. So the problem compounds out of control. But fortunately, in our main base, I had a bunch of batteries stored. In the maze of my Satisfactory main base, we have a bunch of backup storage for things hidden amongst the walls. Most of it is just Christmas stuff. However, we also have color gun things, biofuel, and lots of batteries. Lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of batteries in case something like this would happen. Because I knew I would do something goofy, and go figure, I did. So because of that foresight, I was able to fill the system with more batteries, and just at the last second, we saved the world. Until the next disaster. We're in Update 6 experimental mode. Smart splitters got reset, so some of the mission critical items that we needed for production were sent to a resource sink, and the entire system almost collapsed again. But we caught it in time, it didn't get that bad. And we're able just to send over the waste over to our emergency facility here, compact it, that is, turn the uranium into encased plutonium cells and stuff, and then it was locked away forever, never to be worried about again. Until the next nuclear problem. Yes, there was another. This one was very small though. It was around Update 6 again, where they changed how power shards worked in power plants. So some of our nuclear power plants have power shards in them, and because they do, the nuclear power plants produced a little bit extra nuclear waste. Long story short, I kind of forget how I dealt with it, but I did, and everything's fine. No problems here. So back to production. It was around this time that I completed the actual look of this aluminum base here, and man, it is one of the cooler looking places in the world, I gotta say. Big fan, both of the outside and all the crazy stuff inside. But most importantly, the battery production was complete. So you're able to fly out drones and collect things, and then finish up the main production of this entire factory. Pressure conversion cubes, and some fused modular frames, which are extremely complex and mission critical parts that we need to make space elevator parts. This is our big goal, to automate these 4 items. And with the pressure conversion cubes, we are very close to making nuclear pasta. Plus we could make some thermal propulsion rockets with the fused modular frames. And all those batteries could be used to make magnetic field generators. But because it's the coolest looking in my opinion, and we're closest to it, I decided we wanted to make nuclear pasta first. And how hard could it be too, right? Like, we only need to combine the pressure cube with 200 copper powder. It's no big deal, right? It's not gonna be like a 200-hour project, right? Well, I can tell ya, it wasn't a 200-hour project. You see, I wanted a lot of pasta, which meant we needed a lot of copper. And copper powder is deceptively evil because it takes 30 ingots to make 5 copper powder, which means you need 1,200 copper ingots to produce 1 nuclear pasta per minute. So making more than one, well, you know, it leads to this. In fact, as I was getting started with this playthrough, this is one of the other projects I was planning around because I knew how much copper powder we'd need. And I knew that we'd need 15,000 copper ingots per minute to make this work. So I looked at the Satisfactory map here, and I was like, which biome shall be sacrificed to the pasta? And it turned out to be the green fields down here. So now most of the resources in this biome are sucked up and gone. And we transferred all the copper powder into this giant build, filled it with loops, the particle accelerators necessary to make the nuclear pasta. And then once everything was completed, we ended up with 20 nuclear pasta per minute. And why did I make so much pasta per minute? Because I'm insane. Anyway, though, that was our first space elevator part complete, and arguably one of the harder ones. So it was time to move on to the next one. And the next one I quickly wanted to get out of the way were these magnetic field generators. They need batteries, electromagnetic control rods, and versatile frames. But like I've gone over many times, we are making lots of batteries, 1,000 per minute. Most of which, well, half of which exactly actually, are going towards that space elevator part. It's one of the reasons why I made 1,000 batteries per minute. Like, a lot of them are gonna be used by drones, but again, half of them are gonna be used by that space elevator parts production. And then the other stuff is honestly pretty straightforward. It's just a lot of copper, a little quick wire, and some iron to put together the control rods. And the versatile framework is just more steel and iron too. Well, we could have used the alternate here, but I just went with this one because I was like, it'll be fine. Oh, you might start to notice the theme here, but it wasn't really fine. You see, with 500 batteries per minute, we could make like 50 magnetic field generators per minute. So we needed an insane amount of iron and steel. So I raided even more of the green fields biome here, sent out trains to neighboring areas, and then underneath like the 400 refineries here, I went ahead and built like another 500 smelters. Because things weren't crazy enough, right? We needed all of this iron. This is what it took to make the space elevator parts. It's crazy. There's stuff going on everywhere, dude. So much steel. Thousands of steel per minute. Balanced out in crazy systems all over the place. It's pandemonium. But dang if it doesn't look cool. Oh boy, but yeah, dragged that all over into the cube. Processed all the nonsense in another couple hundred machines, I don't know. And then because I thought it'd be fun, I was like, hey, why don't we stack the manufacturers like we did in my last playthrough, making this kind of cool front piece. I was like, yeah, sure, let's do that. And you know what? it actually wasn't too bad. Since I had done this before, I set up all the balancing and connected up the machines, and that was our second space elevator part completed. And while I was building all this stuff, this factory went through several iterations. Like it had some crazy like barn roof, I was doing some cube stuff, it was really weird. At the end of the day though, this is the design I settled on, and we had kind of this little area free. Like there's nothing inside there. And because I was like delirious or something, I rebuilt all of the manufacturers on the back of the base here, like we did in the front. Even though we didn't actually need them back here, I was actually losing my mind. I don't know why I did this. I wasted like 10 hours, but that was there now. So with all of these manufacturers here and a little bit of extra space there, I was like, we could probably do the next space elevator part here, right? Yeah, it should be fine. Because after doing the magnetic field generators, I was like, let's make some thermal propulsion rockets. The hardest item to create in the game. But think about it. We already have the fused modular frames done. That's pretty big. Plus with the thermal propulsion rockets, we needed turbo motors, which are very difficult to do as well. But with that first recipe there, we already actually have pressure conversion cubes. Past Kibs automated them in the aluminum build, along with the packaged nitrogen gas beside it, or at least the containers. So all this to say, all we really need for turbo motors is to bring a couple items over via drone and then make some stators and motors. Not bad. Next, we needed modular engines. That's just more motors and smart plating, which is just steel and stuff. And rubber's no problem because of our massive rubber plant, which left the cooling systems. This was pretty straightforward too. We just need to bring in some nitrogen gas, which is fine. We gotta grab some water, which is everywhere. We have practically infinite rubber, and then just heat sinks. So looking at this all in, what did we actually have to do? Make motors, stators, a little bit of smart plating, and heat sinks. Then just bring it all together. Like it didn't seem like that bad of an idea. So I was like, you know what, screw it, let's give it a try. I brought everything I possibly could into this building, and I was like, we can do this. So I packaged the nitrogen into canisters, went on a massive spirit journey off into the wild to pipe over some nitrogen gas, automated all the cooling systems we needed, and I was like, yeah, I think we got this. This is fine. The modular engines would just be made in those manufacturers over there. We still have a bunch of iron left in the green fields biome to make whatever we needed. And all I had to do was build the machines. But oh my goodness, I did not realize how many machines. Well, like I did, I knew how many machines exactly. I just didn't realize that we were going to be so exceptionally tight on space. Like with the load balancing we have to do, the storages, etc. Things got a little tight. I was pretty scared that we couldn't fit everything in here, but my goodness, by the skin of our teeth, everything managed to fit in. Like pretty much perfectly. I think if we needed one more manufacturer, none of this would have worked. Like look at this, maddening. It can hardly even walk. In fact, actually, one of the crazier things was all the motors we needed. That's what all of this is for. In between all the manufacturers, we have a massive motor, stator, and rotor factory just kind of hovering in the air, and that's making like the modular engines and all that jazz. But man, it worked. It actually worked. I was so relieved when at the end of the day, it all came together into these 4 fully overclocked manufacturers, and we're able to make 10 thermal propulsion rockets per minute. And then we immediately gathered them up and threw them into an awesome sink. I started doing that when we're at 732 tickets. Now we're at 932. What are the odds? And we're getting like, what? An average of 11 million points per minute, which seems good, I guess. And that's kind of where we're at the 750 hour mark. We are making 20 nuclear pasta per minute, 10 thermal propulsion rockets, 50 magnetic field generators, and then we have this left to do. But there's a bit of a problem with this. You see, with all these other 3 parts, they all required aluminum and stuff like that. and I was able to kind of weave together all of their production lines. When it comes to the assembly director systems, we have nothing prepared. Well, like aside from our drone system, a couple thousand rubber, and a couple thousand plastic, we have to pretty much start at ground zero with everything we need for that project. And there are some scary things, like automated wires, which need a lot of copper, or at least a lot of cable. And then we need freaking adaptive control units, which is like more automated wire, frame, circuit boards, computers. Oh, and who can forget the supercomputers? So this is gonna be quite the little journey all on its own. So it should be a very fun adventure, and I hope you guys want to subscribe and stick around to see it. And also, if you want to check out my Satisfactory world itself, I've posted my save file on Patreon. Patreon is the best way to support me, and I have a bunch of extra vlogs there. You can download my blueprints, again this map, and a whole slew of other things. So if you want to check that out, I'd really appreciate it. Well, that's gonna be all for now, so I hope you guys enjoyed and thank you for watching, but have a fantastic rest of your day, and bye-bye.